Welcome, my fellow Americans. I'm Colonel Conrad Reynolds, your guide to enlightenment as it pertains to our political world. Here on our show, our new show, The Kernel of Truth, we'll peel back layers of history and delve into the murkiness of politics and dissect the complexities of society and what a journey it promises to be. Tonight, we're looking back at the dawn of our republic. Let's cast our minds back to 1776, a year of uncertainty and turmoil, but also one of promise. Ordinary men with extraordinary visions declared their independence, opting to cast off the shackles of a distant king, daring to dream of a new kind of nation. I can't help but internally laugh when I think about our founding fathers navigating into today's world. Imagine George Washington as the first social media influencer, or Benjamin Franklin's lightning bolt emojis lighting up Twitter. What a sight that would be. But all kidding aside, these luminaries gifted us something truly remarkable. A land where we, the people, could choose our own leaders. They demanded a new form of government, one that ensured that the people had a say in their government through the process of voting. At one time, perhaps, maybe a radical idea, but now voting is a treasured right. But on the eve of yet another Independence Day, I can't help but wonder, have we remained true to their vision? Or are we losing our appreciation for the gift of independence, which is underpinned by the belief that our vote is counted? Enter our modern day, non-transparent voting machines. Sure, they're sleek and they're fast and they're efficient. They've got touchscreen interfaces and electronic tabulators, all the latest bells and whistles, but hidden behind those glossy screens is a complex maze of computer codes and processes that are hidden from all of us. In this brave new world, I find myself longing for the days of pen and paper, for the tactile affirmation of casting a tangible vote. Does our vote, once a sacred tool of our republic, really count? Why must we trust a system that is opaque and non-transparent? The political class want us to trust in the system, but why should we? Given the lack of transparency, who authorized my vote to be in the form of a barcode that I can't even verify? Who? I'm no technophobe, mind you. I appreciate a well-crafted meme as much as the next person, but when it comes to voting, we must ask ourselves, is convenience the priority, or is transparency? Is the allure of new tech obscuring the necessity of full transparency and accuracy? Imagine if we were just merely pressing buttons, creating a dazzling light show, not unlike a child delighted with a new toy phone. Is your vote just another set of ones and zeros in the digital world that can be easily manipulated without detection? I'm not peddling conspiracy theories here. I'm not about to claim that we're living in a version of the Matrix. Rather, as we embark on this journey, I invite you, my fellow patriots, to question, to challenge, to seek the truth. Isn't that what made us a strong nation? We, the people, are the custodians of this great nation. We owe it to ourselves and future generations to ensure that our vote, the very cornerstone of our democracy, is not lost in some secret source code. We need to ensure that the right to an accurate vote, that precious gift from our founding fathers, remains credible and trustworthy. As we stand on the brink of another celebration of our Independence Day, let us remember the monumental gift that our founding fathers gave us. Not a monarchy, not a dictatorship, and not a theocracy, but a republic. I believe all Americans have a collective responsibility to protect our liberty and our vote. That is why I am here. We've been given a republic. Can we keep it? This is Colonel Conrad Reynolds. Welcome to the Kernel of Truth. Okay, well, welcome to the Kernel of Truth. Thank you for coming. Again, I'm Colonel Conrad Reynolds, and I'd like to give a short introduction of who I am and why I'm doing this show. You just heard the intro to our new show. We're very happy, very proud to be here at 101.1 The Answer. But I'm a retired Army colonel. I was 30 years, roughly, 29 and some change, as a military intelligence officer with the United States Army. I was a strategic intelligence officer. I've traveled all over the world. I've been to over 70 different countries. And I have a unique perspective, I think, on national security here for our country. And I am very involved right now, and hopefully for the foreseeable future, into the political world, but also what's going on nationally in our country. I think we can all agree that there are problems. We've got all kinds of issues, things that we would have never even thought of 20 or 30 years ago that we're faced with now. So I'm thankful to have the opportunity to discuss these issues with you. I'm in studio. I have my trusted sidekick, Mr. Will Huff, and Will is with us, and we're going to have discussions, and we're going to bring on guests. We're going to have a lot of guests over the next few weeks. I think that you're going to find very interesting. We want to give you information that nobody else is giving you. We want to be able to talk to you about our election process. Now, we understand tomorrow is the 4th of July. We want everybody to have a great 4th of July and a great holiday. And the reason we started off the show talking about our Independence Day and what our founding fathers gave us is that we wanted you to think about this unique country that we have. And the thing that makes it possible is voting, is the ability to trust in our vote. And I will tell you, over the last 8-9 months, almost a year actually, when I've started my deep dive into the voting process that we use, there are all kinds of vulnerabilities. There are all kinds of potential problems. We cannot rely on the system that we currently have. And so when I say that, people kind of say, well, what do you mean? Well, it's very difficult to go through all the different steps and explain all of that. So what we're going to do here on the Kernel of Truth is we're going to break it down week by week into segments. And we're going to talk about each segment, each part of the voting process, so that you are smarter than 99.9% of everybody else in the state of Arkansas, to include anybody working in the election system. They are just following the rules and orders they're given by the machine companies that control our elections. We're going to do something more than that. So welcome to the Kernel of Truth. Will,
welcome.
You want to say welcome to the folks?
Welcome, everybody. You're gonna learn a lot.
You're gonna learn a lot, and we're going to talk about how all of this began. The very beginning, some of the laws. I don't want it to be boring. I want you to be entertained, but also want you to learn why it is that we are so adamant that paper ballots really are the only solution. Maybe not, in some people's mind, not the best, but we think we have a process that will make it very secure. But for sure, 100%, the machines have got to go. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And we're going to explain to you why that is. And I think that you are going to be equipped with all the knowledge that you're going to need to be able to argue or talk to your JP or your county clerk or your election commissioner and let them understand why we must get rid of machines. So what do you think, Will? Where do we start?
Well, I just want to talk about first we're being Arkansas specific because, for one, that's where we're on the air for our first episode. And for two, that's where we live. So right. It's not that the rest of the country is being ignored in this. It's just going from where our perspective is Arkansas out. And so that's what we're looking at. So when you keep mentioning Arkansas, that is why.
Yeah, because we're going to be, as the show progresses, this is our first show, but as we progress, we're going to talk about issues that really and truly impact the entire nation. We're focused right now on the voting machines because they do impact a great majority of every state in the union. So, but we're focused on Arkansas because Arkansas has a set of laws and we have a process, and we want people here to understand why we got to get rid of the system that we currently have. So you're right, it's not going to be just Arkansas centric, but we do believe that, for an example, to talk about the problems that we currently have with the voting process, we're going to use Arkansas.
Yeah, that can be our starting point where people can say, okay, that's Arkansas, but it can apply here in different ways. Just like Arkansas, we use barcodes. Georgia uses QR codes.
Correct. And we're going to talk about the companies that make these machines throughout America. We're going to talk about hidden ownership is another thing. Let me repeat that. Hidden ownership. Well, we don't know who owns some of these companies. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about something called the LNA test, the logic and accuracy test.
We'll do a whole episode on that.
We're going to do a whole episode on logic and accuracy test, and we're going to bring on some experts, not just people who are working the election. We're going to bring on people who are super knowledgeable cybersecurity experts, qualified, yes, qualified to talk to you about exactly what goes on in these machines and why we have to get rid of them.
Well, since tomorrow's Independence Day, our system was set up where the states are supposed to be in control of election and even the local communities. How did we lose our electoral independence and get these machines shoved down our throat?
Well, that's a great question, and it all started back in 2000, really, with the presidential race, Gore versus Bush. And do y'all remember hanging chads? That ring a bell to anybody? The hanging chad fiasco that they had was horrible. It was horrible. And
it was a mess. It was a mess.
It was a mess. And people said, we've got to do something different. We cannot have this, where you've got people, I don't remember the picture with the guy that's looking at the hanging chad.
Holding it up in the light.
And
is it a dimple chad or is it a hanging
that's
chad?
That's right. And so there was this big argument. So the idea was, we need to do something better. We have technology now. We can move to a more advanced system instead of these old paper type mechanisms and the old
pull lever,
the pull
like
lever
a casino.
machines.
Who's gonna win?
That's
Jackpot.
right. That's right. So that's why we said, okay, we're going to go to something more sophisticated. That's where the problem came in, folks. Because if you remember back in 2000, the internet was just kind of getting started. And even though a lot of people had home computers, the iPhone wasn't even invented yet. It was invented, 2007?
Yeah.
So, but there were machine companies, people who had been making these voting machines, and they saw an opportunity. They saw an opportunity to get taxpayer money, to pay for all their machines, to get them forced into all these states where people didn't want them. That's what they saw. And so they came up with something, and they worked with some of the insiders in the United States Senate and the House in order to craft a new law, and it was called the Help America Vote Act.
Short is HAVA.
The short name is HAVA, H-A-V-A Act. So that's what happened, and we're going to come back here in just a few minutes. We're going to take a break, but we're going to talk about how the HAVA Act started. We're going to talk about the amount of money they were throwing out at all the states to buy these machines, and we're going to talk about a couple of the key personalities. But for right now, welcome to the Kernel of Truth as we start on this journey explaining why this voting process has to end. Hey folks, this is Colonel Conrad Reynolds, host of the Kernel of Truth. And on top of being the host of this show, I'm also the CEO of an organization called AVII.org, Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative. The mission, of course, is to take back America county by county in order to get counties to get rid of machines and go to paper ballot. Go to AVII.org, read up on it, look at the links that we have, and we ask that you consider donating. We're trying to take back America county by county. We can't do it without your help. Thanks so much.
Hey there, Arkansas. I'm Carrie Lake from Arizona, and I'm joining your mission to take back America county by county to restore faith in our election process. Arkansas plays a vital role in this mission led by Colonel Conrad Reynolds and the Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative. By demanding hand-marked paper ballots, we will ensure the integrity of our elections and rid ourselves of non-transparent voting computers. Call your Justice of the Peace and insist on hand-marked paper ballots for your county. To become part of the movement and learn more, go to avii.org. Together, we will take back America county by county.
Hey folks, I'm Colonel Conrad Reynolds, a retired U.S. military intelligence officer. My friend Carrie Lake is right. We can take our country back county by county. Arkansas is the tip of the spear. We are setting the pace for the country. This is a collective effort. Let's call our JPs and tell them we want hand-marked paper ballots. Visit avii.org, paid for by the Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative. Hey folks, this is Colonel Conrad Reynolds, host of the Kernel of Truth. Our mission is to save America, and one of the ways we do that is through this radio program. And in order to support our show, we ask that you go to mypillow.com. It's my friend Mike Lindell. Has got great products. The sheets are incredible. The new pillow he's got, the 2.0, absolutely fabulous. They've got towels, they've got all kinds of things, slippers, they got everything. Use promo code Conrad to help support our mission here. We want to save America, and we're asking for your help. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Kernel of Truth. We were just talking about in the break about the system. It's kind of difficult to explain, and I'm going to try to we need to get Mr. Producer. We need to get something to show people, the steps. But basically, there's three main components that make up we say voting computers, but there's three. There's the e-poll book, the electronic poll book. We'll talk about that later. E-poll book. Then you have the express vote, which is a touch screen, which is also called a ballot marking device because it actually marks what they call your ballot. Right?
And that's the ES&S brand name.
That's an ES&S brand name. And Dominion has a different name.
Yeah.
Cast vote something. Yeah. And then you have the tabulator, which is the very last machine that you put that ballot into, and it counts it. It tabulates your vote.
And we see problems in all three of those.
We see problems in all three. And so we'll talk about each of those segments and why they're problematic and why the things that we're being told that make them safe are completely untrue. Yeah. I've used this before, Will. I talk about the magician, and I'm going to bring this up. Everybody here has gone to a magic show or remembered one when they were little, right? And what happens? They bring out the black hat, and they go, there's nothing in this black hat. And guess what? They bring somebody up. They bring somebody up from the audience to prove that there's nothing suspicious about the hat at all. And so somebody who doesn't know the trick, some audience member, basically your county clerks or your election commissioners, they don't know. They just come up and go, yeah, it's empty. It looks fine. There's nothing here. There's nothing nefarious going on with the black hat. Well, then they go down, sit down, and they assure everybody, right? And then what happens is
Then there's the abracadabra.
Then the abracadabra, and they pull out the rabbit. And everybody's amazed. It's not supposed to happen. And even the person who went up there and looked at it and saw nothing in it can't believe it. Can't believe it happened.
Because it looked all right.
Exactly.
So
what happens is they know the trick.
The magician.
The people who came up and certified that the hat was empty and there's nothing in it, they didn't know the trick. They are just simply telling everybody what they saw. It's all okay. There's nothing here, folks. Don't worry about it.
So it's like our local officials taking the word of ES&S that everything is fine.
Exactly.
Or Dominion or Hart Civic or whatever company.
Whichever company. They are taking the word of them and they are saying, and they are preaching that like that's the gospel. They're preaching it like that is absolutely sacrosanct. You can't change that. But yet they don't know anything about the trick. They don't know what can be done.
Well, let's take everyone back to a former Nebraska senator. We don't need to get into his miraculous win in his election.
Let's talk about that. No, let's talk about that.
Okay.
What we're talking about here, folks, is a guy by the name of Chuck Hagel. He came from Nebraska. Now, the reason that's important is that Nebraska is the same state, the same location, and headquarters, the same company that runs all of our elections here in Arkansas. It's called ES&S, Election Systems and Software. Chuck Hagel used to be the CEO of that company, which is amazing. And then he had, what about the win?
And so when he ran, all the polls, none of them had him just coming out ahead, and he won in running away in his election.
That was in the mid 90s or 96.
It was the first year Nebraska used all ES&S machines. So his win was in question from the beginning. People held that up, saying, "Hey, we don't know if that's accurate."
And that was in. He won in a landslide and out of the blue, and he won in a state by the people, the machines that counted the votes was a company that he was the former CEO of.
Yeah, where his business partner.
But nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. There's nothing to have a problem. Anyway, he won. He went on to the Senate. Now, why is that important? That's important because he was in the Senate when the fiasco in Florida happened, the hanging chads. And then they saw an opportunity, they being the machine companies, the voting machine companies, to get their product into every state. And they could do it with taxpayer money. They could get Congress to vote and give money, and they did. Over $4 billion. This was in 2002.
And so they had someone on the inside to help get the ear of all the other senators and congressmen in the form of Chuck Hagel.
In fact, he was even censured because he didn't bring up the fact that he still owns stock with ES&S. And he didn't tell Congress that. And he didn't put it on his financial disclosure forms that he was still making money and still had stock with them.
And so he was making policy and giving money to companies that he owned stock in. I don't know how he didn't get in trouble for insider trading, but
well, he stayed in, and guess what? They got, I think it was like $4 billion, and I don't have the exact numbers, but it's a lot of money. And what they did was they got states to take the money to be able to buy the machines. Now think about this a second. Chuck Hagel had stock in ES&S. He got the Congress to get money,
billions of dollars
from taxpayers, and use that money to buy the machines
to give grants
of the company that he had once been the CEO of, and also had ties to all the people there, obviously, but also with stock.
So they sent grants to the states. The states get to use those grants to buy the voting machines. But let's get into the next segment real fast. Let's just use Arkansas as an example.
Right.
Arkansas didn't have voting machines, but then someone came with some money for bribes,
Yeah, and I got to get
I think it was 2004.
No, it was 2002, okay. and it was a company. I have to look at it. It's a company out of Dallas that eventually ES&S purchased, but it was a company that was trying to get voting machines here in Arkansas. And we'll pull that up and we'll get that for you. But the bottom line here is that company bribed the Secretary of State of Arkansas in 2002, a guy by the name of Bill McEwen. You remember him?
Yeah.
Bill McEwen. Bill McEwen was Secretary of State in Arkansas. And he took bribes from this voting machine company that was based in Dallas in order to get machines in Arkansas.
So machines being in Arkansas are already the fruit of a poison tree.
Oh, absolutely. The frozen, but at least fruit of the poison tree doctrine. It's a legal thing.
At least the guy who bribed the Secretary of State went to prison.
Yeah, right. This is another interesting part of this story. The guy that bribed Bill McEwen, the salesman for the machine, the machine company, he bribed Bill McEwen, and then he got immunity for testifying against Bill McEwen because the prosecutors wanted to get the Secretary of State. They didn't really care about a no-name salesman for this company. They really wanted the Secretary of State. And so they got him, the salesman, to turn state's witness and he got immunity, and he testified against Bill McEwen. And Bill McEwen went to the state penitentiary.
And then the guy who got let off?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. The guy that actually
did the bribing, gave
the money,
got his wish because machines came to Arkansas.
That's right. That guy was able to get hired by another machine company. Yes, guess which one it is? ES&S. ES&S hired him. ES&S hired a guy that was bribing people, and ES&S, and that guy worked for ES&S for I guess another 18 or 19 years before he retired. Yeah. Or something like that.
But this isn't just even an ES&S thing. This has happened across the industry. It's an industry-wide thing of there's a lot of nefarious actions that have gone on to get these computers into the elections.
Well, and what we've seen is these machine companies not only have their own lobbyists, but they get people who work for them to be in high-level positions in the Secretary of State's office or in some of these election commissioner offices. I know we got to go. Right. We're going to continue our conversation, and just a word from our sponsor. Thank you. Hey, folks, this is Colonel Conrad Reynolds, host of The Kernel of Truth. Our mission is to save America, and one of the ways we do that is through this radio program. And in order to support our show, we ask that you go to mypillow.com. It's my friend Mike Lindell. Has got great products. The sheets are incredible. The new pillow he's got, the 2.0, absolutely fabulous. They've got towels. They've got all kinds of things, slippers. They got everything. use promo code Conrad to help support our mission here. We want to save America, and we're asking for your help.
Hey there, Arkansas. I'm Carrie Lake from Arizona, and I'm joining your mission to take back America county by county to restore faith in our election process. Arkansas plays a vital role in this mission, led by Colonel Conrad Reynolds and the Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative. By demanding hand-marked paper ballots, we will ensure the integrity of our elections and rid ourselves of non-transparent voting computers. Call your Justice of the Peace and insist on hand-marked paper ballots for your county. To become part of the movement and learn more, go to avii.org. Together, we will take back America county by county.
Hey folks, I'm Colonel Conrad Reynolds, a retired U.S. military intelligence officer. My friend Carrie Lake is right. We can take our country back county by county. Arkansas is the tip of the spear. We are setting the pace for the country. This is a collective effort. Let's call our JPs and tell them we want hand-marked paper ballots. Visit avii.org, paid for by the Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative. Hey folks, this is Colonel Conrad Reynolds, host of the Kernel of Truth. And on top of being the host of this show, I'm also the CEO of an organization called avii.org, Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative. The mission, of course, is to take back America county by county in order to get counties to get rid of machines and go to paper ballot. Go to avii.org, read up on it, look at the links that we have, and we ask that you consider donating. We're trying to take back America county by county. We can't do it without your help. Thanks so much. Okay, welcome back to the show. We did a little fact checking there to make sure that we're giving you exactly the right information.
Okay,
so what'd you find out?
So a Washington Post headline says, Tom Eschberger, vice president of ES&S. Prior to working for ES&S, Eschberger was implicated as a participant in a scheme involving the sale of used voting machines to funnel money to former Arkansas Secretary of State Bill McEwen. McEwen pleaded guilty in 95, so we're 7 years too late on that, to political corruption. And what he did was a kickbacks and gratuities and kickbacks count because McEwen accepted kickbacks from Business Records Corporation.
That's it, BRC.
Which was bought by ES&S later
right.
in exchange for state contracts. And those contracts were to get the voting machine started in Arkansas in 95.
That's it. So what we know is that Tom, how do you pronounce his last name?
Eschberger.
Tom Eschberger. Tom Eschberger actually worked for the Business Records Corporation, which was out of Texas, out of Dallas. And they had voting machines, and they were trying to get those in Arkansas, and Bill McEwen was taking kickbacks from them.
Yeah, they were selling used machines and giving Bill McEwen the proceeds from those used machine sales.
Early on. So there was a corruption. But what's interesting, folks, about this is that the very guy that was providing kickbacks, that was basically doing illegal stuff. We knew he got immunity for testifying, but the fact is they hired him and he became a vice president of ES&S.
So that's the kind of corporation we're dealing with, their company.
That's the company that runs all of our elections here in Arkansas, all of them. And then we got a lot more to talk to you about ES&S.
Well, let's go into ES&S right now. Like, let's put on your national security hat. And one thing we know about ES&S is that we don't know a lot.
Well, here's what you should know. From a national security perspective, you need to know. All of us need to know a company that is giving the responsibility to run our elections. Remember how important our vote is. Remember our founding fathers. Remember what the vote was everything, and everybody needs to be able to trust it. They're in charge of our voting system, so we need to know everything we can about this company. It'd be like somebody marrying your daughter, okay? Wouldn't you want to know everything about that guy? Wouldn't you want to know where his family's from, what kind of job he's got, what his background is, what has he done? Of course you would. You would inquire. You would quiz your daughter saying, I want to know everything about this guy. You wouldn't just say, okay, well, you don't know where he's from, you don't know his family, you really don't know much about him, but you want to marry him, okay? No. We would absolutely want to know everything, and we should be the same way, Will, with this company.
So who owns ES&S?
Well, that's an interesting thing.
Oh, not just ES&S. Who owns Dominion? Who owns Hart Civic?
Well, let's talk about ES&S because I think that's the one that is important here. If there is a video clip by NBC, they did a report.
Real fast, ES&S is important because they're the largest. manufacturer of voting
Yeah,
machines.
50% of all votes on machines go through an ES&S machine. Election System and Software, ES&S for short. 50% of all votes go through their company. And so here's my question. Who owns them? Well, NBC wanted to know the same thing because it's not just us. I think it was South Carolina. South Carolina wanted to know. New York wanted to know, particularly in 2016 and 17, when everybody was thinking the Russians were involved in all of our elections.
Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar.
All of the Democrats were coming out and they were saying, we want to know who owns these companies. Well, anyway, to make a long story.
In terms of owning, we mean who's investing, who's giving money, who's putting money into these companies.
Right. So NBC, went and interviewed the guy. His name was Tom Burt, who is the president of ES&S. And they asked him, who actually owns your company? And he said there's two groups of investors. One group is the management of ES&S. For example, himself, probably the financial service officer, those people who are in leadership positions.
About 5% of the company
Yeah,
ownership,
very
if
few.
I saw.
And then he said, and then the other group is a bunch of investors. They belong to an organization, a group called McCarthy Group. They're a private equity fund.
Which is led by Mike McCarthy, who recruited Chuck Hagel.
That's right. Mike McCarthy is a billionaire out of Nebraska, and he recruited Chuck Hagel to be the CEO and apparently to run for the U.S. Senate in Nebraska. And guess what? He served as his financial director for his campaign. Okay, so they were intent on getting Chuck Hagel in. So the point is that
McCarthy Group owns it.
McCarthy Group has a bunch of investors that we don't know who they are, and they actually control ES&S. They are the people behind the curtain. We don't know who they are, and you know what? Under their bylaws, apparently, people wanted to know, but they said, well, sorry, we can't tell you because under our bylaws for McCarthy Group, they're not allowed to share the names of those people.
Even though they told NBC, for those who are listening on the radio, we're not going to show you the clip, but for those watching online, we'll put up the video for ES&S and NBC, and we'll let you see what we're talking about.
Yeah, in fact, I encourage everybody to try to watch those videos. Where can they see them?
We're going to put them on your Facebook, which is Colonel Conrad Reynolds on Facebook. They'll have that video.
Yeah, so go to my Facebook, Colonel Conrad Reynolds, and watch those two videos. There's two videos that NBC did in 2019. And I think one was early 2020.
Could be.
But the fact is, look at those two videos, and you're going to see how non-transparent the company that runs all of our elections is. They are not transparent. They do not want you to know who owns them.
So we don't know who owns them. We don't know how they get money in investments.
Oh, no, that's a great point. There's NBC asked them and said, "What about your finances?" They go, "Well, it's a hard business, and there's very thin margins, and we don't know. It's tough making a business, making a living out of this business, basically." And she said, "Well, we'll never know because their financials are, guess what, folks? They're confidential. They're confidential. They won't share them. So we don't know. They may be getting $1 billion from somebody on the side. We have no idea and no way to know. And they're going to keep it that way. And they're never going to let us know."
And so why is that a potential threat in national security wise?
From a national security perspective, when you don't know how people are getting paid and there's no financial disclosure, think about this. And I'm going to answer your question in just a second. But think about this. When we have people running for Congress and the Senate and the presidency, what do we have to do? We have to do financial disclosures. You've got to, and even me, even people in the in the government service who have a clearance, a top secret clearance or whatever, you have to divulge all of your assets. It's called a financial disclosure form. And people in the federal government have to do it every 2 years. But when you run for office and you are senator or congressman, you have to declare all of your income. Where is it coming from? To see whether you're being paid by foreign nationals, a foreign entity, a foreign government.
Conflicts of interest.
All of that is important. And so that's what they do. They make sure, okay? And so anyway.
And so we don't know who is giving the money and for what purpose they're giving the money to.
That's correct.
So let's just pretend I'm a nefarious guy. And you're a nefarious company. I could say, hey, here's $1 billion, do what I want, and you don't have to disclose it.
That's right. And as long as they are a private company, and all of them are this way. So I asked the question, and we're going to take a break here in just a minute, but while we're on the break, I want you to think to yourself, why would we allow a company that we don't know who owns it, we have no idea how they make their money, run our elections? Who in their right mind would allow that to do it? Would allow us to do that? So we're going to think about that. We'll come back here in just a minute. Thank you. This is the Kernel of Truth, and hope you come back. We're going to have fun. Take care. Hey, folks, this is Colonel Conrad Reynolds, host of the Kernel of Truth. And on top of being the host of this show, I'm also the CEO of an organization called AVII.org, Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative. The mission, of course, is to take back America county by county in order to get counties to get rid of machines and go to paper ballot. Go to AVII.org, read up on it, look at the links that we have, and we ask that you consider donating. We're trying to take back America county by county. We can't do it without your help. Thanks so much.
Hey there, Arkansas. I'm Carrie Lake from Arizona, and I'm joining your mission to take back America county by county to restore faith in our election process. Arkansas plays a vital role in this mission, led by Colonel Conrad Reynolds and the Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative. By demanding hand-marked paper ballots, we will ensure the integrity of our elections and rid ourselves of non-transparent voting computers. Call your justice of the peace and insist on hand-marked paper ballots for your county. To become part of the movement and learn more, go to AVII.org. Together, we will take back America county by county.
Hey, folks, I'm Colonel Conrad Reynolds, a retired U.S. military intelligence officer. My friend Carrie Lake is right. We can take our country back county by county. Arkansas is the tip of the spear. We are setting the pace for the country. This is a collective effort. Let's call our JPs and tell them we want hand-marked paper ballots. Visit AVII.org, paid for by the Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative. Hey folks, this is Colonel Conrad Reynolds, host of the Kernel of Truth. Our mission is to save America, and one of the ways we do that is through this radio program. And in order to support our show, we ask that you go to mypillow.com. It's my friend Mike Lindell has got great products. The sheets are incredible. The new pillow he's got, the 2.0, absolutely fabulous. They've got towels, they've got all kinds of things, slippers, they got everything. Use promo code Conrad to help support our mission here. We want to save America, and we're asking for your help. Okay, welcome back to the show. We're going to continue our conversation here. We're talking about ES&S, the Election System and Software Corporation that runs our elections here in Arkansas. And the last segment we were just talking about
hidden ownership.
Not knowing who actually owns the company.
But we don't know who owns Dominion. It's still a private equity group, correct?
Correct.
And then what about Hart Civic? When I checked, I might be wrong, but
yeah, most of these companies are hidden. There's never been full disclosure, so we don't know. Okay. And as long as they remain private, we'll never know.
So 90-something% of our votes go through companies.
Yeah, so just so the people listening know, 50% of all votes from machines go through ES&S. 30% of all votes in America that go through machine go through Dominion, and then 10% go through Hart Civic. Those are the three big companies. There are about 2 or 3 other smaller ones, but those are the 3. So 90% of all of our votes on machines go through private companies. They control them. They control the election.
And so most of our listeners, when we're starting off, are full-blown ultra MAGA. That's just our group, our crowd. And so they've heard of Dominion, and they know, Dominion's bad, Dominion's bad. But they hadn't heard of ES&S, but there was always been an underlying rumor, one about ES&S and one about Dominion. Dominion was rumored, allegedly, that they supported more liberal candidates, and ES&S supported more the establishment Republican candidates. And in our opinion, that's bad both ways because votes shouldn't be influenced by the voting computer company.
That's true. In fact, if you go back and do a little research, when George Bush ran, I think it was in 2004.
Yeah, it was the second race.
Second race against Kerry, Senator Kerry. the owner or the CEO of ESNS at the time.
It was Diebold.
Oh, Diebold. That's right, Diebold. It was the owner, the CEO of Diebold. Y'all remember Diebold, right? They make the bank vaults and
ATM machines,
and safes and things like that nature. They also had one branch of their company that made voting machines, Diebold voting machines. They also make the ATMs, right? They make that. And this guy, I guess it was in Ohio.
It was Ohio.
Ohio, who made the statement.
We will deliver Ohio for George Bush.
That's exactly right. He said it. And he caught a lot of flack over it. In fact, eventually had to resign.
Yeah, and they sold the company off.
They sold it, and guess who they sold it to?
ESNS and Dominion got part of it.
Well, it was only because a court order said
SEC or the Securities Exchange Commission,
right? Said you can't. They couldn't own all of it, but they got the lion's share of it. They got the lion's share of the company. So they split up the company. But still,
why would a machine company executive say we're going to deliver a state for a specific candidate?
Right. Exactly. So,
it's bad optics no matter what.
That's right. Well, the fact is that they could. The point is, and people knew it, particularly with the kinds of machines that they had during that time.
Yeah, from 2004 until 2020, Democrats said we have to get rid of these machines. Kamala Harris said we have to go to pen and paper. Russia can't hack a piece of paper. We had the Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren reports.
And we're going to talk about this in depth as we go along because people have forgotten a lot of the machines that existed. They had what's called Votronics, and
there was no receipt or anything.
No receipt or anything, and you voted and you saw a little piece of paper behind a piece of glass, and you saw it vote, and that was it. You got nothing. So
and in those machines, it's all secret, and like that one was secret. But what we're also in these machines are secret code, the actual programming that makes the machines do what it do. Do what they do.
Do what they do. What they do.
They do what it do.
Well, let me tell you, we're gonna talk about this in this show. We're gonna bring on experts, and you're gonna find out exactly why we can't trust this because the coding that goes in very complex. The number of lines apparently is very, very complex, and the fact of the matter is that they used to code the machines, and that experts are not allowed to review them, to go into and look at them and verify that they're safe. We're not allowed to do that. And so we're going to have...
But company, that's proprietary. You wouldn't want to give your proprietary code away. That's your business advantage.
Yeah, that's what... And people seem to think that's okay. It's not okay, folks. Let me tell you. I use this example. Should I use it?
Yeah.
I use this example with people. They go, well, it's proprietary. And if it's proprietary, then we understand it's hands off. We can't touch that. And I said, well, hold on a second now. But think about this for a second. They're always telling us, well, bring us the evidence. Bring us the evidence, and then I will be okay. But you can't look in here. You can't look at the code, but you got to find it some other way. Imagine there was a crime that was committed in a house. Let's just say, say
a murder.
Let's say a murder. Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, a murder. A murderer was in the house, right? And people say, well, we think John was murdered. And John's car, it's been there for 2 months. We haven't seen him come out. We saw some people go in a while ago, and then they left. It was very suspicious. We think that there may be a problem. There may be, John may have been murdered.
Uh-oh.
Okay, we need to find out. But the police say, no, nothing to worry about here. We don't see anything. We
talked to John's wife.
Yeah, we talked to his wife, and it's no problem. Right?
We talked to those guys that came out of the house.
We're not, but they gave us access. They said, fine, if you really think there's a crime, go in and look in the house. And if you find anything, bring us the evidence. Okay, go ahead and look. But guess what? That one closet over there, that's proprietary. You can't look in that closet. But you can look at every place else in the house, and if you find anything, and we go, well, why can't we look in the closet? And they go, well, it's proprietary because they got family heirlooms in there, and they don't want anybody looking at that because that's a problem because they got stuff that's very, very, very expensive.
Sensitive information.
Sensitive, and that you can't look at. That's proprietary. Now, isn't that ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen? That's ridiculous. Of course we need to look inside the closet. We need to look at every spot. Nothing, no rock should be unturned, right? We should make sure every one of them is looked at. Look under every rock, look at every door, see what is there. And we're not allowed to do it. That's where the body's at, by the way. So
So John is dead.
So John's dead.
Mystery solved.
But we weren't able to produce any evidence.
Nope.
No evidence because we weren't allowed to go in there.
It's going to be 30 years later when the wife dies.
This is the problem, folks. This is the problem that we have with the current system. The people in charge are saying you can't look in that closet. You have to trust that there's nothing in there, even though we don't know. But we're telling you, you can't find out.
So with the secret coding, so machines can be programmed to do all kinds of things. And so what we can't see is it telling people, hey, change a vote from one candidate to another? Or is it saying, make this person's vote not count, undervote here, overvote here, anything like that?
It can be very complex. In fact, the people that I've spoken with, the cybersecurity experts, and I've talked to a lot of them, folks, unlike other people in the establishment, or the voting apparatus here in Arkansas,
county clerks,
they all will tell you these machines aren't connected to the internet. They'll tell you all these things, and then they want to label you some kind of conspiracy nut if you even bring up a question.
You're undermining our voting system.
Oh, I've been told that. You're undermining the trust in our system. I said, there is no trust. There's no trust because we can't read the barcodes that are used in our election. We're going to talk about barcodes, not today.
But that goes into the secret coding too.
We're going to talk about all the different ways that can be manipulated, and we have no way of knowing ever, and the people who are in charge have no way of knowing, yet they continue to fight for machines. This is probably the fight of our lifetime here, because I'm telling you right now, we've got to get rid of machines. No question about it. I don't talk about the 2020 election, and I don't talk about my own election last year. I don't talk about these things because that's not important. What's important is, can we trust the system that we have to accurately document our vote? Can we verify that our vote was actually counted? And the answer is, right now, the system we have, you cannot. So we cannot have this system. And anybody who protects the system is being an impediment and a roadblock to our liberty, to our ability to ensure that we are able to verify our vote. They are being the impediment, and we've got to say, no, we don't hate you, but we want you to step aside because you don't know what you're talking about. That's what we've got to do.
And some people don't even want to hear what we have to say. We're trying to, warn people of that a disaster could be coming up. A disaster could be coming up. But people just want to be willfully ignorant. They
you got an example, a good example about the space shuttle, right?
When I was a kid, I watched the Space Shuttle Challenger take off, and then it exploded. And we find out in the coming months or the months after that people had been warning there was a problem with the O-ring, that the O-ring was not good for cold weather launches, but there was so much riding on the launch of the space shuttle with President Reagan wanting to get back in space. It had been a long gap that they just ignored all the warnings. And then we end up with a disaster when people were telling them, you can't go, you can't go, you can't go. There's a potential problem. We haven't seen a problem yet.
Right. Well, I want to be absolutely clear, and I hope everybody listening to me listen to what I say here. Okay? I trust our county clerks. I trust our election commissioners and our poll workers. I think we've got some of the best folks ever working these elections. I really do. So I want everybody who works in the election system to know that we are on your side.
We want you counting our votes.
We want you counting our votes. We want a transparent system. You know what's funny is I'm fighting for a transparent system, and the people who are fighting against me are fighting for an opaque system, one that's not transparent. We should never allow that in our elections. The reason, everybody's got different reasons for doing what they're doing, okay? I don't know exactly all of the reasons why people are fighting us. I got my suspicions, but I think a vast majority of them just like convenience. It's so convenient, and they like how quick the machines, count up the vote. It makes it very, very, very easy to run an election when you have the use of computers. I understand all of that. The problem is that we are not allowed to ensure that the computers are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so, because of that, we have to make a decision. Do we want convenience over transparency and accuracy and security? Are we trading our the security of our elections for convenience? If that's the case, I tell everybody, then just go to your cell phone and vote. Vote via your cell phone. Just text.
Text us on.
That's they're working on that, by the way. There's several places already they're using email and voting.
Just send us a text message on election day and we'll respond.
I mean, if you want it really convenient, that's the way to do it. But it'll never ever be accurate, and it will be open up to all type of malfeasance. Right now, we have a system that's open to all type of malfeasance, but it's convenient. People like it, and it's hard to get them to get away from it.
So let's wrap this up for this week. Next week, we'll dive into the barcode aspect and the different reasons of our system where there are weaknesses.
Yeah, I can promise you the next 3 shows, maybe 4 that we do, the next 4 is going to be absolutely
riveting.
You're
going to learn a lot.
Because you're going to hear everything that I tell a JP or anybody that we're talking with. You're going to hear all of that. We're going to do that. We're going to bring on specialists to tell you how things actually work. You're going to know, and by the end of this probably 4-part series, you're going to find out that we've got to do something in Arkansas. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to tell you, thank you for joining us for our first hour here on the Kernel of Truth. We're going to have some great shows in the future.
Some great
guests. And I'm excited to be here. And this is our first show, and it's in the can as they speak, and we'll see you next week. Have a great day.
Happy 4th
of July. That's right. Hey, folks, this is Colonel Conrad Reynolds, the host of the Kernel of Truth. Before I got my own show, I used to do different shows, different podcasts to get our message out, and one of them was a good friend of mine by the name of Doc Washburn. It's Washburn. Doc Washburn has got a great political show, a great conservative show, and I urge you to go listen to it. His website is docwashburnshow.com. Please go listen. I think you're going to enjoy it. Again, great guy, great message. Go listen. Hey folks, this is Colonel Conrad Reynolds, host of the Kernel of Truth. And on top of being the host of this show, I'm also the CEO of an organization called AVII.org, Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative. The mission, of course, is to take back America county by county in order to get counties to get rid of machines and go to paper ballot. Go to AVII.org, read up on it, look at the links that we have, and we ask that you consider donating. We're trying to take back America county by county. We can't do it without your help. Thanks so much.